Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Carla, what's the deal? The show just started and you're already in the mood to punch things here. Justin set me up with a webcam up top, so I'm gonna try and do this thing. If it looks like I'm looking down, sometimes it comments here, but I kind of like the way that this is set up right now. And hello to all the lovely people on TikTok. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Um, Lots to jump into here, plenty to dive into, and we'll be doing as much of that as we can over the course of the next 2 hours here. As you can see, still not in the usual setup that you're used to seeing me in, still working on that. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we're going to work it out over the coming days and weeks here. Plenty of stories that I want to jump into with you here. I'm going to allow a little bit of time for everybody to slowly trickle in here, as is often the case. By the way, I've been sitting on this story for a while. It's not a story like news wise, it's a Ben Cominos story. Last Monday, when we had the tornado, as you guys know, I ended up getting locked out of my home. It's very funny. The only reason I remembered this is because I paid it this morning. But it goes to show you when people, oh my God, I just got an update from Spectrum and they just told me that I'm going to have to wait until August 7th for internet. I'm going to scream. I'm probably going to call them on the back end of this show. God damn it. All right. Anyway, um I went to the bar on Monday to go and just pass the time over the course of thinking that the outage was going to be a short thing. I was unaware of the actual scope of the damage that had taken place over the course of the last couple of minutes at that point, and I went and parked where I always park. Now this is the kind of thing that I'm going to admit now, and I don't think it will come back to bite me in the ass later, but I've literally never paid to park in downtown Appleton. I just find discrete spots and I go and park, and I still have Uber and Lyft stickers on my car, and nobody ever messes with it. So, um, I assumed that day would be no different. You know what's really messed up, and it kind of makes me think about progressives, Francesca Hong, the idea of defunding the police, all that jazz. Um, I'm not saying I want to defund the police because this happened, but what I am saying is that if there were ever a time to maybe hold off on ticketing people parked in an illegal manner in downtown Appleton, it probably would have been in the aftermath of that tornado. And when I went out to my car, it was just a line of tickets on cars for a bunch of people that were just looking for a place to put their vehicle and figure things out. And it really goes to show you sometimes we lose the thread here. I mean, it's $8. It's an adorable ticket. It's not like I'm mad about the actual cost of it. That's not the point of it at all. It's the principle of the matter. And of all times for that to be happening, you know, that's how my morning started. I did that. I sent in my severance package for work, so they have now been downgraded to that little radio station rather than that shitty little radio station starting today. And a lot of you guys have said I should maybe lighten up a little bit, but we'll get there in time. um and I see people talking about Madison PD. We will be discussing that today in just a couple of minutes here. It's going to be the second story of the day. We got people coming in. Back in the Fox Valley, you all had quite a week. Oh, I was wondering where you've been, Michelle. Um, yeah, absolutely. Glad to have you back here. And yeah, a lot has happened over the course of the last 7 days. That is for sure. But I want to start with what I was doing yesterday. I went down to the vault in downtown Appleton for a David Crowley event. I actually ran into my friend Amy, who's affiliated with the Fox Valley Advocates for Public Education. Very public Kelda Roy's supporter on Facebook, and a good friend of mine. She's been on the show a couple of times. Back when it was on that little radio station. And we both were having discussions about what we were seeing there. And if you guys weren't familiar, David Crowley showed up, as did Governor Evers, down to the vault in downtown Appleton. And I do have to say, um, Carla's asking, was it as packed as I'm being told? Technically, yes. Technically, it was packed. Here's the thing. It didn't have 25% of the space capacity that the beer factory did, which was also packed 10 days ago. But there wasn't a seat available for me. But if you asked me to guess, there were probably around 40 seats available. I took some pictures. I'll post them to my socials on the back end of this. I didn't have time to throw up a post before the show today, but don't let it. It was packed from a size standpoint. Yes, it's me. It's me. But here's what's interesting. Ecuadorian, I see you talking about MPD. We'll be getting to that in a couple minutes here. David Crowley spoke, and it's the first time I've seen him speak in person. And I have to say, that guy's a talented orator. I think he has some very impressive accolades that he is able to run on. The statistics that Milwaukee have surrounding the homeless population are something that he should be incredibly proud of. The things that he has accomplished as the Milwaukee County executive are things that he should be incredibly proud of. And I will say, I kind of am at a point now where my mind is made up in terms of the primary. And I don't know what I could hear that would make me budge on that. But I will say I was really impressed by the way that he was talking. And I can understand why there's excitement. I can understand why Governor Evers endorsed him over Mandela Barnes. What I can't understand is why it took until now for that to be the case. I think I understand it because they don't want a progressive to come away with the victory. I think I understand why it was like a last-ditch effort to try and give him a little bit of a jump start here. But I didn't expect to come out of that being like, wow, David Crowley, not bad, not bad. I didn't expect that at all. I will say Governor Evers was not impressive at all. He did a speech that was hard to understand and spent half of it railing on candidates that talk about what they see on Twitter. I'll allow you guys to infer which candidate that is that he is referencing when he talks that way. But I'll be honest with you guys, it was laid out there in a way that I found to be particularly insulting. And allow me to explain why. Before Elon Musk bought Twitter, and even in the immediate aftermath, the first year that he owned it, I would oftentimes talk to my radio listeners and say, Twitter is basically like the best news wire that you could possibly create for no money. I had my algorithm set up to feed me pro-union stories, stories about the cost of living, stories about how much people are struggling to get by. And it helped me generate some truly unique content that wasn't happening anywhere else. Now Twitter's a cesspool. You really can't use it that way. But there was a time not that long ago when it was very usable. More importantly, not only was I creating good content, I was being rewarded for doing so with ratings. Alex, what were you biting your tongue about the last 2 days? I was rewarded in the ratings. People were coming to my show. MAGA people were coming to my show because I'm talking about the stuff that is actually impacting people on a day-to-day business. And the idea that a gubernatorial candidate is going to show up and say, or not a gubernatorial candidate, a governor is going to turn up and say, yeah, she's talking about things on Twitter, things that nobody cares about. I'm here to tell you right now, not only do people care about it, but they care about it enough to make me the most successful talk show in Northeast Wisconsin. And in all likelihood, my prediction is carry Francesca Hong into the governor's house. Really, like, honest to God, I think the whole event would have been better if it were just Crowley. Chris Alfheim Dassler showed up and spoke, and she gave a similar um, logic to why she believes that it should either be Crowley or basically anybody other than Hong. A logic I don't personally agree with, but everybody's allowed to have their own opinions on the matter. Talking about the necessity of building a trifecta of um, saying you want a candidate at the top of the ticket who's going to encourage more people to come out. I'll be real with you. I'm pretty sure that candidate is Francesca Hong, and I really haven't been given any evidence to the contrary of that. A more centrist approach, I think, is going to leave a lot of people feeling like there's something left to be desired in the campaign that's out there. What are you guys saying down here? Carla says Evers is dead to me. Alex says, oh, okay. Bubba 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 Bibby says, I'm done biting my tongue about politics in our district. Let's effing go. Well, here you go, Bubba 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 Bibby. Hop on the StreamYard. Please share your thoughts on this show. That's obviously heavily encouraged here. Oh, tornado stuff. No, I feel that. I'm disappointed in Evers. I've always liked him, so it kind of hurts. Yeah, I feel that. Patience truly is a virtue, huh? IDK, how y'all can bite your tongue about this kind of stuff. Probably why I'm banned from stores in my area, but that's fine. It was bad timing when my okay. Ba, ba, ba. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna let that conversation kind of continue rolling along there. But so I actually learned quite a bit, and I'm sure the handful of people did as well. I'm interested how many minds were changed. And again, it was crowded, but the idea that it was crowded, let me see, did it show up in my text? I might at least be able to share. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Bear with me here. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with you guys. At least I think I am. Let's see here. Do I have the pictures? You know what? I don't know the right way to actually share the pictures, I don't think. I'll throw them up on my socials for you guys to be able to look at later. I feel like that's going to be the easiest way to do this. Or maybe I can just share entire screen. Let's try and do that real quick. Okay. So there we go. All right. So I believe you guys can see this right now. This picture here is the basically the rundown of it. There were also quite a bit of people behind me as well, right here. But these two pictures right now, and allow me to show the people on TikTok as well. Still gonna have to do it this way, and it looks like till the end of the fucking week we're gonna be doing it this way. Here's what it looked like at Vault. For the people that were there, the front and back. I don't know if these two guys here coordinated on wearing the same outfit, but they sure do look nice. That's essentially the rundown there. There's Crowley and Evers standing, and Chris Alpheim Dassler waiting to be up there. So that's at least the basics of what's going on right there. So that's what it looked like. That's what the scene looked like that I was at. And I'll be honest, I've never been to Vault Tap Room and Brewery, but I liked it quite a bit. What's up, Van? Robin saying really small. Relative to what took place at the Appleton Beer Factory, especially. And I mean, I'll be real. I was at a Francesca Hong event on Sunday down in Milwaukee. Now, Milwaukee is not Appleton, right? I understand that. There were 1,500 people there, and it felt like I was at a sporting event, as I highlighted for you guys yesterday. Alex is saying she wants to hear about Katrina DeVille. I talked about that yesterday, Alex, but the debate is available on my YouTube page when you have time. Brian says, Ben, your impression of Crowley's speech and the late endorsement from the DNC is the exact reason I'm disappointed in Democratic leadership, always late to the party. Bibi says, this is the first time he showed his face here. What can you expect? Well, that's kind of my issue. And it goes to show you that I don't think these candidates were taking this election very seriously at all. I still maintain, I believe Tom Tiffany is a very beatable candidate, no matter who comes out of office. And I think some mainstream Democrats were expecting to be able to waltz into victory. Yesterday is Monday, Alex. Yes, it is. There we go. But so I want to actually read to you guys Ken Klippenstein, who is or Klippenstein. I don't know the right way to say it. He is an independent journalist actually based out of Madison, but he has quite a bit of nationwide recognition. He wrote a little bit of an op-ed surrounding the internal memo circulated by the Republican Party of Wisconsin surrounding Francesca Hong's electability, and also using it to speak about Abdul El-Sayed in Michigan as well, whose primary is today. It is probably going to give us a pretty decent barometer of what things are going to look like in our state next week. But I wanted to read part of his article here that was originally reported by Jesse Opian of the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. But this kind of lends itself to the idea that Republicans are running anti-Francesca Hong ads in the name of bolstering her rather than trying to get out of ahead of what I believe they perceive as a runaway freight train at this point. Listen to this rhetoric here. Hong's combination of grassroots momentum, unapologetically progressive ideology, and a platform centered on high turnout makes her uniquely dangerous in the general election. It is broadly popular and difficult to counter. Her agenda is built around kitchen table issues that pull strongly with independents, working families, and even some rural voters. More moderate and establishment Democratic alternatives would likely produce lower base motivation and depressed turnout. Now, compare that to the way the mainstream media is talking about Francesca Hong. When this memo was leaked, Democrats claimed that it was leaked in the name of making Francesca Hong seem stronger than she was in the eyes of Democratic primary voters. And I genuinely believe, had the exact same thing been said about David Crowley, they would have been telling you about why it shows you the importance of voting for David Crowley, because that's who scares the Republican Party the most. I believe what I am reading there, and I do believe that there is an element of fear. Have you guys, for those of you that aren't on the cesspool known as Twitter or Facebook or any of the social media accounts, it seems to me like the main frustration with Francesca Hong is that she hates Christmas, Valentine's Day, and Thanksgiving. And I hate to break it to the Republican Party, but in an era when so many people are struggling to get by economically, I really don't think people care about whether or not you're saying Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. I'm sure some people do, but you know what? Those people weren't winnable to begin with. So let's talk about the people that are actually winnable at this point. Robin says Republicans are going after Abdul's name. I heard he's a Muslim. That's scary. Tiffany is beatable. He is red meat to the Lions. It will be, if the young voters show up, a blowout win for all progressive candidates. I believe so. I've been saying that for months at this point. It's being borne out everywhere. Nobody thinks the Republican Party has solutions to our problems. It's just that it's very hard to convince them that moderates have the answers either, because it's been borne out time and time again. Actually, let's jump into that. So, all right, I have to unshare this screen. Don't get angry, Ben. Just do the things. All right. So, I'm going to share a couple of people with you here off of the Twitter. You should be able to hear this. Actually, let me just double check that I clicked the right button there. Share screen. Yes, share the audio. Okay, good. This first person is Hillary Schulten of Michigan. Francesca Hong and Abdul El Sayed are running on abolishing ICE, not trying to find a way to work with them, not trying to rehabilitate them. They are running on, we are done with this group. We have no interest in wanting to see them anywhere near our immigrant populations, or realistically any populations in general, because they be murdering white people too. So you just got to keep your head on a swivel anytime one of those ICE agents is near you. This first one here that I'm about to share with you guys is Hillary Schulten, who has her thoughts about why this is just bad politics in her mind. And again, this is a more moderate. This is who the Democratic Party wants you to believe you should be voting for. This is not Al Sayed's challenger, by the way. This is somebody who's speaking up on behalf of her challenger. Listen to what she had to say here.
Abdul El Sayed supports a movement called Abolish ICE, which is very similar to defunding the police. It may sound enticing to some when you're rightly enraged by the injustices that have occurred, but did you know that ICE also is the agency responsible for conducting raids and arrests on perpetrators of human trafficking and drug smuggling? If we abolish ICE altogether, who's going to help us track down and investigate human trafficking in our community?
Well. Looks like we have to put up with a complete infringement on our God-given American rights, because there's no way we could possibly reappropriate any of the other 24 different three-letter agencies that are responsible for monitoring this kind of stuff. That's what they're actually running on. And if you aren't willing to get behind that, it's because you're secretly a Trump voter. And I'm prepared to take this one step further. You guys may remember this politician is a bit more obscure. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, I think is how you pronounce it. Now remember, she lost because we're all sexist and racist and nobody's ready for a woman president. And anybody who can't see it through that lens just doesn't understand what the real issues are. But what if, and bear with me for a second, there's a second thing going on.
As you think about this Calais decision and the effective gutting of the Voting Rights Act through Shelby and Calais, how do we best respond? You're a brilliant lawyer, been a legislator and an executive. How do we best respond to what is really a setback in terms of a tool that we've used to protect our voting rights? How do we best respond?
Okay, real talk?
Real talk, straight talk.
I honestly don't believe that it will be any time soon that we are going to revive the Voting Rights Act.
Don't expect great things.
So I don't believe that it is going to be the best use of our energy right now to try to get that done, because I don't know that it's going to get done right now the way this Congress is composed and the way they have been treating civil rights issues. I'm hopeful, but I don't know that it's going to happen anytime soon. So I think part of it is we've got to think about now, and I was talking to this young woman about this, now when they have destroyed the infrastructure we built over decades and had in place with the Voting Rights Act for 50 years, how are we going to achieve the goal when that infrastructure has been destroyed? And we're going to have to be creative. Part of it is these midterms are coming up, and it will make a decision about who at least rules the Senate, the House, if not the Senate. And so we have to do the work of telling people right now, check your voter registration status. Make sure you aren't one of those people whose names got purged inappropriately. Make sure you've checked on your polling place, because they've been playing games around moving the polling place where your grandparents always voted. And so on election day, when they go to that elementary school down the block, they might find that that polling place is closed. registering folks to vote, and having an agenda that is about turning out the vote in the greatest numbers we have ever seen, so that in light of and in this environment where they are cheating, we will be too big to rig. Too big.
Ali succinctly puts it in my TikTok chat. I never feel the need to turn off this show, but this is about to make me turn it off, LMAO. And I feel that. Now, this is what's interesting to me about this. There is an entire movement right now trying to make Francesca Hong seem like a radical because she is calling for the abolition. Well, not calling for. The DSA has in their platform that they would like to abolish the Senate. Then Kamala Harris comes up and says, we can't get these basic voting rights enshrined because of the way the Senate is set up. Senator Ron Johnson, Republican, is calling for the removal of the filibuster so that we can vote to make it harder for women to be able to vote. Clearly, centrist Democrats have an issue with the filibuster and the Senate. Republicans have an issue with the filibuster in the Senate. Anybody like myself who is looking to see Medicare for all be enacted around the country has had about enough of the filibuster and the Senate, because I believe the days of a 60-seat majority ever happening surrounding good, positive legislation in this nation are dead at this point. And yet Francesca Hong is unelectable because she is being represented by a party who said, hey, why do we even have the Senate? It seems like it creates more problems than it deserves. This is not me telling you guys that we should abolish the Senate. I'm saying the idea that that is part of a political party's platform should not be that surprising to people when you see the way that people are talking about it. So you have Hillary Scholten of Michigan telling you that abolish ICE is an absolutely ridiculous concept because what about human trafficking? You have Kamala Harris telling you, like, you better just show up and vote blue no matter who, because otherwise you're going to be in for a world of hurt. We got to make it too big to rig, which, spoiler warning, for those of you that think that kind of sounds familiar, that's exactly what Donald Trump used to say after the 2020 election. So if people are confused as to why this woman has been able to show up, capture the minds of people, specifically young people, as we talked about yesterday, as nobody under 45 has a second place candidate, even polling in double digits, let alone showing any signs of actually winning this thing amongst those demographics. This is why. And Ali's saying we youngins don't matter, and blah, 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 Bibi says, that's the one thing boomers are good at, showing up. That's my biggest fear, too. Gen Z needs to actually vote to make this count. I'd argue something entirely different. As I highlighted yesterday, in 2020, 22, and on the state level in 2023, young people showed up and bailed the Democrats out of a potential red wave and realistically delivered the presidency in general to the Democratic Party because Joe Biden was the only candidate to run against Donald Trump on actual progressive policies. And that's why he won. He didn't really enact most of them, but he ran on them. I think young people are going to make a play in Wisconsin in 2026. And I was oftentimes mocked when I said that when I said the opposite in 2024. I said young people are not going to show up, and young people have been saving the Democratic Party in the 2020s, and I was mocked for that sentiment. And then young people didn't show up, and Kamala got her brains beaten. We'll never know why. Probably racism and sexism. But young people are going to make a play in this state. I'll tell you that right now. Has anyone noticed the subtle push to get Hunter Biden in front of cameras? Yes, I have. I've actually had people suggest that I do content surrounding Hunter Biden, and I personally don't take it seriously. The efforts to get him in front of us here, but that's how thirsty they are. They would rather, I'm telling you, I don't want to spoil the movie because I keep pushing people close to me to watch it. But that's kind of the whole premise of the movie Sorry to Bother You, is that if another like true working class leader emerged from this political hellscape that we have, inevitably that person would probably be co-opted. And I don't for a single second, I'm sick and tired of dynasties. Ali says Hunter Biden's a solid podcaster. Exactly. He's going to be the Democrats' Trump. Now, see, that's just it. People think what was appealing about Trump was the name calling. And don't get me wrong, it was interesting. Like I've said, the 5% of me that is Donald Trump would laugh at some of the random shit that he would say. But what Donald Trump actually represented to right-wing working class Americans was a frustration with a system that was clearly broken. Go try and find Hunter Biden's attitudes towards AI data centers and surveillance, and you're probably not going to find stuff that you like. Donald Trump at least cosplayed as a progressive, or excuse me, as a populist, until getting into office, and then immediately did the Reagan bullshit. But like the options were available there. The idea that Hunter Biden is somehow, it's like when people say we need a leftist Joe Rogan. Well, you're never going to, or a liberal Joe Rogan. You're never going to get that because liberals can't handle anytime you push back against their policies or their lack of interest in addressing the main issues in society, even a little bit. So like, it's kind of the same idea here. You're looking for a liberal Trump. You know what a leftist Trump would have been? Fucking Bernie. And Democrats decided they'd rather not deal with that. They'd rather lose to Donald Trump than run somebody similar to him, but that actually intended to fix things. It's the reasons why you see the demonization of Francesca Hong and El Sayed and Mamdani. Did you guys see the announcement that Mamdani's opening these grocery stores and they're going to be selling the goods at 30% less than what other grocery stores are selling them at? And you're watching Mark Cuban's all up in arms. You're watching every billionaire that's like, but please think of the millionaires. And then other people saying, well, how do you sell them at 30% reduced prices if grocery stores are telling you there's an only 1 to 2% margin? It's a very obvious answer if you're willing to listen to the way that they're doing it. They're government run. The employees that work the store are paid by tax dollars, not by a corporation. So that is not factored into the price. The building is a government building, so they're not paying rent on it. I don't think they pay property taxes on it. I didn't actually look that up, but I'm pretty sure that's right. Because it's a nonprofit. All of these different elements of overhead are gone. And then more importantly, as somebody who shops at Aldi's all the time, and yes, I realize there's no S on the end of it, but I'm from Pittsburgh. We're calling it Aldi's. Fight me. I shop at Aldi's all the time. You go to Aldi's, and like they only ever have like 60% of the shit you want. You know what I mean? And that's part of the reason why you're able to get things as cheap as you can. You're not going to go to these government-run grocery stores and be able to get all of the shit that you would be able to get at a Walmart or a Festival or a Giant Eagle or whatever it is. But it'll carry, as Violet says, the store will carry whatever they can discount. Exactly. It's going to be the bare necessities. So on one hand, you have Republicans livid about the idea of single mothers using food stamps in order to be able to buy candy bars and shit for their kids. And the government says, I'm going to open a cheaper grocery store that really doesn't have a whole lot of stuff, but at least you won't go hungry or thirsty. And those same Republicans are like, how are we going to buy candy bars for our kids? And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Which way are we going? You guys pick a lane and we'll drive that way. Do you want to make it so the SNAP benefits can pay for whatever food you want it to be able to pay for? Or do you want the grocery stores to to only carry the things that you would expect people to buy on Snap, because it seems to me like you guys are just making shit up to yell about things that are oftentimes presented as good, just because you can. I'm resharing the link if anybody wants to chime in with their thoughts on the matter. Robin says, I'd rather have my tax dollars pay for stores like this. I agree. Alex says the same is happening in Menasha with the community hubs, small scale, same cognitive dissonance. Well, it's funny, Alex. I actually wrote an article today for the Minocqua Brewing Company, talking about socialism in the time of disaster and how many Trump vehicles were taking part in a helping way, not in a they were looking. Well, some were looking for donated goods, but a lot were there to help facilitate the transportation of the goods. I'm like, okay, so wait a minute. You can understand that a tornado comes and makes it so people can't work or have homes, and then you are comfortable facilitating these different social programs. But if somebody were recently diagnosed with an illness, or injured in a way that prevented them from being able to do anything, well, those people are lazy layabouts that are just looking for government handouts, and you want to defund those programs. And I don't understand the cognitive dissonance there surrounding disaster aid versus government aid, specifically to the working class. Violated Elf says that's not a good thing that they are helping. That's it's a good thing they're helping, but a lot of them have a savior complex to a certain extent. Sure. I mean, I get what you're saying there. The article is available with the Minocqua Brewing Company if anybody wants to read it. I'm not going to be able to do the office hours this time around. But so that's basically it's about the Wisconsin primary. Shout out again to David Crowley, who did honestly do a very good job yesterday. I just think it's too little too late. I will never understand why they ran that campaign. And I see you, Alex, why they ran that campaign the way that they did this entire time. I don't get it. Because I think if he would have been around the state the way Francesca Hong has been since April, I think he would be very tough to beat, especially with the governor's endorsement. But I think it is going to be too little too late, barring some type of unforeseen bullshit coming through the pipeline here over, over the course of the next 7 days. And again, my intention was to have a little bit of a Ben After Dark for the Michigan primary tonight. It doesn't look like that's going to be doable. I'm going to put some feelers out there and see what's happening. But I see someone booing me here. But in any event, it looks like we're going to have to put a hold on that as well. You're coming up now, Alex. Why am I getting booed right now?
I'm getting booed for being yourself, I guess. I don't know. It's been a long week, man.
Yeah, that it has.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak more on the small scale socialism thing. I actually had a talk at the 807 Hub with a woman about that yesterday, and I could tell that there was someone, I'm not sure if she was there to drop off or if she was just there to check and see if anybody needed anything, but I could see her visibly recoil when I used the word socialism, and then the lady next to me was like, Yep, this is literally just socialism, isn't it? And I was like, well, yes, it is. Like, I was joking, but yes, it is. And we've got it for the rest of the week because it doesn't stop simply because it's been 7 days. And having talks with a lot of the community hub leaders, because these are just homeowners who had the availability of saying, yes, I can open up my yard to make sure that people are getting what they need. I have not met a single stand owner for a hub that has been checking IDs, I have not met a single person who has said there have been people banned from coming and getting supplies. What I have heard is people are realistic and know that, oh yes, this person, I've seen them a couple of times, but I've never seen them in my community before. They probably were too scared to ask for help beforehand. And now with the onslaught of amazing donations from all over for the Fox Valley, we've got a lot of stuff. There's a lot of clothing. There's a lot of diapers. There's a lot of non-perishable food items that can go around to people because, yes, a lot have been put into temporary housing. A lot are getting assistance and aren't needing the direct community donations coming out of these hubs, but people still living in the area do. And I've only heard one person in person, someone actually with their boots on the ground bitching about this. Every other person is just a Facebook comment talking about, well, what about these people that are just coming to take advantage? Advantage of what? Size 4 diapers? Right. You think that those aren't getting used? You think maybe we should just have something like this all the time? Because then you do get people like the owner of Rosenau Customs, I didn't say that, who goes around the island talking about how he's responsible for 99% of the cleanup, and the only reason why things look as good as they do is because of him and his team. Don't be like that. Don't be like that person. This effort was a collective effort. It was not one person did it. We all did it together. It is socialism. It is communism. It is those things that everyone is so scared of, but has been doing for the past 7 days nonstop to make sure that people have food, water, safe places for their pets to go if they have no home to return to. It's again, meeting people where they're at, and where we were at was in the middle of a fucking disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it really...
the first day that I was there volunteering, I was at the parking lot. Like basically I was organizing the stuff that on the pallets that was getting picked up by people that showed up. And more than one person asked me when I was there, they're like, so you're not IDing or anything. People just show up and they tell you what they want and you're giving it to them. I'm like, yeah, like full stop. And like, quite frankly, even if someone were grifting, I guess, because you bring up a very valid point of like, what, you're stealing our rakes? Like that was that was your big con job. But even if somebody were grifting, it was so few and far between, and it was much more so many people that were just grateful and looking for some semblance of community and assistance in a time like this. So like I couldn't agree with you more. And I guess there goes another endorsement opportunity, but you know.
Hey man, I don't think you'd want it anyway after the way that he spoke to me and my neighbor. But anyway, the bureaucracy of it all, of volunteers standing around for 2 hours at UWO trying to receive training and then going out. I'm not talking shit on anyone's volunteering experience. However, I am going to say every vest I saw was doing a whole lot of this.
Oh, sure.
There was a lot of stuff not getting done because of and I'm going to call it like I see it. It's liberal bullshit, Frank. The amount of people who were from Menasha, actually from Menasha, just in a spot that didn't get much damage, asking like, hey, where can I go to help? And people being screamed at, if you don't have a wristband and you're not a volunteer, you don't belong here. Da, 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 da. Calm the fuck down, first of all. Everybody who wants to help belongs here because there's plenty of people in the community who do need the help, even if they are able-bodied, even if they are above a certain tax bracket. You know, everybody fucking needed help, dude. It's devastating there. So
I will tell you, and I'm not making excuses for it, but I mean, this is realistically a problem with America writ large. I went the wristband route. You know what I mean? I went there. You have to sign a waiver that says if you get hurt volunteering, you will not sue the city. Then you have to go and fill out a piece of paperwork where you highlight what skills you have and where you can be utilized. Then you have to sign your name on a secondary piece of paper that says, I watched the 8-minute safety video that allows me to know what I should do around down power lines, what I should do around chainsaws, what I should do around falling trees. And then you go. And realistically, one of the days that I was out there, even if you were going the wristband route, I was sent to 5 different locations. And all 5 locations, there wasn't anything for me to do there. And I find it hard to believe that there was nothing to do. So I get where your frustration is stemming from, but I also know America and know that if somebody accidentally sliced something while doing the volunteer work and they didn't have a wristband and didn't go through the proper measures, the city's worried that it's going to go broke. And while I don't want to make excuses for them, I know people well enough to know they'd be looking for an opportunity. So I get your point, but I get why they're doing it their way as well in an emergency.
That's fair enough. I would just say that every person who was genuinely there, not the people driving from out of town on the first day on Monday to literally gawk at homeowners while they were crying, seeing their homes completely fucking destroyed. The people who want to help, I don't have a problem with the volunteers. I don't have a problem with the volunteers sitting around and being waited to be told what to do. They're looking for direction, so they're not getting in anybody's way. Right. That's the most important fucking thing people could have done all goddamn week. And it was kind of few and far between in some spots. So again, like, the volunteers did absolutely phenomenal. However, the organizations leave a lot to be desired. This is not the first disaster that we've had. This is not the first tornado that we've had this year. And you're telling me that the people of Ringgold haven't figured it the fuck out by now?
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm just saying, we need to look to our own communities to be able to keep this stuff going. You know, there are our other neighbors in the northern part of the state that have dealt with this, and we could absolutely be looking to them to see how to do this. Whereas I think a generalized volunteer conglomerate, not the word I want to use, but my brain's soup, it might be a little bit better prepared at this. You know, it's like asking directly to communities what they want, instead of saying, well, this is the generalized structure that we have set and planned out, and we've noticed that the numbers do really good over time. We've looked at Chicago, LA, and New York and as our control groups, so it works there, so it should work for you here. And we're all just kind of like pissing in the wind, really, about all of this because we don't know what's going on, but people want to help, so we got to put them somewhere. It seems like that a lot last week tended to happen with information not getting updated through official channels. I know that, unfortunately, Rachel Dowling and all of the hard work that she's been putting in over the past week has been getting pissed on by people who I'm sure haven't stepped a foot on the island. It's just, we've got the resources here. Wisconsin, and I understand the image of this is really kind of funny, but Wisconsin is a state of socialism. It is. It always has been about community, by community, for community. And the Fox Valley is going to learn that in a very crash course kind of way, I think, this month. The remainder of August is going to be one for the history books, I think. And I am personally very excited for August 11th. And also, tentatively, citizens of Neenah, that is still when our flock safety meeting is scheduled to be. So don't forget, you got 2 things to do that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Good reminder there. Thanks for stopping by, Alex. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for letting me bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can feel the passion. I saw Sterling say she's talking like a trucker. Yeah, there's a lot of frustrating things happening right now. Old Lib, I see you talking about the oil companies there. I do want to get into that a little bit, but let me hit a couple other comments here first. I've been off the grid literally, so sorry if this was talked about. Hated Grothman and RJ's hands in pockets, khaki sporting photos. Oh, absolutely. I saw those as well. Justin says, I wanted to volunteer, clean up, etc. this week, but Volunteer Fox Cities has posted to not register for now. Interesting. I hadn't seen that. Checking IDs waste time in this situation, says KG. I agree. It's like voting. Just I gotta sneak them in there. CKK says, I can't believe that there's a chance that someone could sneak in from the wealthy suburbs to get a free $3 case of water. Not only can it happen, CKK, it's probable, you know? Those greedy suburban bastards, it's kind of hard to keep them at bay as far as I'm concerned. Carla says, I worked my butt off every day, sometimes through the VFC and sometimes not. I get that. Brian says, welcome to the construction environment. Sign away your rights because of insurance. Put on your safety gear, sign away your rights. Maybe there's also a hint of protecting the contractors. I'm right there with you. And again, my dad always said, doctors and lawyers, anytime doctors and lawyers get involved, you know you've made a mistake. I do think the hoops that everybody had to jump through were ridiculous. But I mean, also, maybe I'm stupid. I don't know. But like, I didn't know that downed power lines are still a threat to you if somebody is running a generator, even when the power is out. I'm not saying that I would have walked around picking up down power lines, but it definitely opened my eyes in the situation. Like, not the end of the world. Not saying there couldn't have been somebody on the job site that would tell me that. But I'm just saying there was good information there for people that maybe don't work in the trades, work with electricity, work with a bunch of sharp objects all the time. I can see why they'd want to cover their ass to a certain perspective. There was one element about it surrounding mental health. The person who was running the safety administration was also a volunteer firefighter. And he talks about the firefighters that have been lost in the line of duty, not because of bad safety protocol or because they were injured on the job, but because the things that they had to see doing the job kind of weighed on them over time. And, you know, in the early 2000s/teens, we weren't so up to date on mental health and men feeling comfortable expressing their emotions. We really weren't talking about things that way back then, and a lot of bad things happened. So he said, if you see things that make you feel that way, make sure you find somebody to be able to vent to about it, because there's a chance you might see it. There was some good information there, is my point. But yeah, it's still not over. It's still obviously very much on people's minds as we move forward. Is there a possibility that contractors may be protecting their future income stream? Probably. And Alex does say Ron Tussler, who she does not see eye to eye with on most things, was there on Monday clearing shit out. Good stuff. But yeah, and just really quickly to completely tangent here before we move on to what's going on in Madison. Jeff brought up, if you guys haven't seen Donald Trump, let me see if I just search it on Twitter right now, will it pop up if I try and type in Trump Exxon? Perfect. I'm going to share the screen for you. If you guys haven't heard this yet, I do want to mention this very briefly before I move on to the next thing. Old Lib says, hopefully we don't see them in the future campaign advertisements. Look what I did. You almost certainly will. But there is something to be said to Alex's point. Like, Tony Evers will show up with a shovel and like fill a pothole and then kind of move on for the day. There are different variations of what that can look like. And there's nothing wrong with being deferential either. I knew I was out of my element when I was doing these things, and I knew I was surrounded by people that knew what the fuck they were doing. And so I have enough humility to be told what to do in those kind of scenarios and then go do it to the best of my ability. And I feel like that's an important trait to have in these kind of moments, is understanding that there's a good chance most of the people there are out of their element. And maybe it's on us for that not to be out of our element in future moments like this. And that's something worth considering as time goes on. But there's going to be a lot of, we will be talking about this for months in all likelihood. Let me share this really quickly. By the way, if I haven't already said as much, we are going to be joined by Grace Abbotts at 10:30. She's running in the 56th district of Wisconsin in the primary against Shauna Riley. Shauna was on the program 3-ish weeks ago. Grace is her challenger. Both of them actually spoke to start off the debate that was at Tardigrades on Sunday. If you haven't already taken the time to watch it, it is available on my YouTube page. Go ahead and check it out there and subscribe, you nerds. I need 7 more to get to 800 people. That would be super helpful for me. So 7 more subscriptions is what we're looking for today. We're going to do a rally drive to get those subs. But I do want to jump into this, and I want to leave enough time to be able to talk about Madison as well. So, but like, I do want to hit this really quickly. So let me share screen. All right, there it is. All right. So here's Donald Trump. And like, I'm going to be real with you. I don't hate this. I don't know if that's going to make me an enemy of the state here. I don't hate this comment whatsoever. I wish Joe Biden had said something like this in 2022. Listen to this.
For Chevron for the quarter, highest in history.
By 12 times.
On the back.
You saw that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. On the backs.
I don't like it.
Workers paying higher debts.
Yeah.
Whatever is our.
They're making too much money. Okay. Based on a shortage, they're making too much money. I don't like it. And I should be the last one to say, because I'm a big free enterprise guy, nobody bigger. And, you know, you're going to see oil when we're finished with Iran, you're going to see the prices drop through the floor. But they made too much money, too much money. Chevron, too much money. ExxonMobil, too much money. When you look at one company where they made 12 times what they made the year before, they're going to give some of that back to the public. And they better cut the retail price, the consumer price. Too much money. You're surprised I'm saying it? I'll say it loud and clear. I'm not happy about it. Go ahead.
I agree. I wish the Democrats had said this kind of shit back in the aftermath of COVID, and we probably aren't dealing with Donald Trump today. Thank you for the subscription, L. Joe. And Danny thinks, I guess, are we all the losers? No, let them be here. I'm happy here. What garbage. I'm glad Madison isn't about to be destroyed by idiots. Do you have downs? Okay, good. I'm glad we're here. I don't know how you guys found the place, but we're happy you're here. Make sure you click that subscribe button and the bell so you don't miss a single video. Before we get into Madison, this is exactly what corporate greed looks like. And what's interesting about this is MAGA, this is Donald Trump, this is Republicans acknowledging that corporate greed is happening in industries, and that in order to counteract that, you're not going to be able to raise interest rates to get out of it. You're not going to be able to do any of the normal measures that address inflation. You're going to have to tax the shit out of the people that are very obviously gouging us, specifically gouging us in times of controversy, whether it be natural disasters, wars, pandemics, whatever the situation may be. You got to call it out when you see it. And I saw a clip of MSNBC talking heads mocking Donald Trump for coming out and saying this, being like, I bet Reagan's rolling over in his grave. I hope so. Worst fucking president ever. I hope he's rolling over in his grave hearing that. People need to be saying this shit a whole hell of a lot more. Big talk, Ben. We will see if anything will happen. Oh, well, that's another question entirely. But when MSNBC talking heads are the ones that are going out there and saying I don't know why Donald Trump is saying this. I thought Republicans were in favor of the free market. No, this is what people want to hear. This is why Kamala Harris lost, is that you guys have such bad political instincts that you don't realize that what is being said there is actually quite popular. Pretty interesting to me. That liberals can't seem to figure it out. Again, I don't trust the MAGA movement is full of morons like Dave Lee here in my YouTube comments who can't see the forest through the trees. But I don't think they're going to wake up to this one way or the other. But for the people that actively acknowledge that the economy is bad, regardless of if the president has a D or an R next to their name, this is the way people want to hear you start talking about it. Wait, how did you find your way here? Yeah, okay, so on to Madison here. I'll be real with you guys. I still don't have internet. I still don't have a lot of means to be able to stay up to date. Like realistically, in order to put these shows together, I basically get an hour, maybe an hour and a half of time to put information together. These are a little touch and go last week and this week, and I appreciate everybody being patient with me as we continue trying to build this out. I went to my new sponsor's place yesterday to check out the room where the new stadium is going to be. All right, I'll tell you what, just because I need to be able to focus. Hey there, Damien, I'm gonna put you in timeout, buddy, okay? You sit there in the corner and just listen, and when you can learn to listen a little better, maybe you can have your talkie privileges back, okay? No, I appreciate that, Eljo. And I spoke with Alan Robinson of Madison last Monday, literally moments before the tornado happened. And I haven't been in touch with him since. And I intended to stay in touch, but obviously life can come at you pretty fast here. We're just kind of hanging on and doing the best that we can in the situation. But if you haven't seen, the encampments are being broken up right now. And I have to say, I have a lot of feelings on the matter because I'll be real. There is no protest that Republicans will say is acceptable. They'll bitch about blocking roads because normal people are having their routes thrown off. And maybe that's true. So then Colin Kaepernick decides he's going to kneel quietly off to the side to protest police brutality. And then Republicans are mad that they're kneeling during their special song. And then, the list goes on. And like fundamentally, what's going to happen is anytime any minority is standing up for their rights, a certain segment of the population is going to get mad about it. And I think we have to come to grips with that. Now, on the other side of it, I don't know what the end game is in Madison. And I've only spoke to one person who has been on the ground, and only one person. And I only spoke to that one person on Monday when this was all still much newer than it was. So I do not have the most up-to-date information about this. Allow me to say that full-throatedly right now. There are probably a lot of things that I don't understand that have happened over the last 8 days that I am not taking into consideration when I am talking to you guys right now, okay? But what I do know is you need to have a finish line with this kind of stuff. And I don't know what was expected. And anybody in the chats who isn't a rambling moron who doesn't understand that Nazis are not socialists, if you guys have information on the matter, I absolutely welcome any kind of information. Is it that they want the police officer jailed? Is it that they want him fired? Do they want a complete overhaul of of police reforms before they're willing to clean up? What is missing from the conversation that would cause the encampment to be taken down willingly? Because I am in favor of protests, and I hate the idea that the police are getting involved with it. But I also know that protest has to have an outcome, a desired agenda when you are doing these kind of things. Aaron, if you want to jump on, throw your insight in here. You're young. We want to hear what you say. All right, Crackshot, you're too dumb to take part in the conversation either. Go in the corner. But yeah, Aaron, request to join if you want to have your thoughts heard. That's absolutely welcome. Hong has been taking heat for going out and speaking at the event. Okay, no worries. Since Corey Ruiz was killed by police on July 22nd, I have been in close contact with city officials, local elected leaders, community organizers, and neighbors who are working toward a peaceful resolution to the encampment Williamson and Baldwin. Our community is grieving and demanding accountability. Direct action and civil disobedience are valid forms of protest. At the same time, people also need to access their homes and businesses. I have been working to connect organizers with resources and help address those immediate needs while supporting the right to demonstrate. I support calls for a peaceful, community-led resolution. This cannot mean moving on from Corey's death or abandoning the demand for justice, but we need a transition from physical boundaries of the encampment to advocacy for durable change. We must continue the deeper work of strengthening independent police oversight, investing in housing and homelessness services, and changing the systems that allow injustice to persist. I also support creating a permanent community design memorial honoring Corey and other victims of police violence. That actually sounds surprisingly liberal. I will remain engaged with neighbors, organizers, and local leaders as we work toward a solution that prevents further harm while keeping the focus on accountability and lasting change. This is not an end to the work, but an opportunity for it to grow beyond the physical space. And I do think that that is a good move long term, channeling this kind of energy into some kind of movement, some kind of new group, some capacity to enact the kind of change that you are looking for through the means that exist. I am very for protest. I was one of the loudest voices when Joe Biden, Governor Evers, and the rest of the Wisconsin Funky Bunch decided that we've heard enough about the lives of Palestine and it's time for these protests to end. I vocalized my frustration when Joe Biden got involved with the railroad industry strikes, although that ultimately, those did end favorably for the railroad workers. I'll be honest. That was a good story, long run. But when Joe Biden intervened and required them to go back to work in the name of national security or whatever, I had a couple of thoughts about that as well that were pretty difficult to ignore. And I feel the same way again now. But again, the strikes were there for more money. You understood what the end game was to get the strikes to end. The Israel protests were there in the name of BDS, right? Boycott, divest, sanction. All that was there. I get the gist of what is being asked for here. I'm not a jackass. I understand that when a police officer shoots a man 3 times while he's at point blank range, while he's laying on his back, that is murder. That is murder, Damien. But for the rest of us, what is it exactly that you're looking to change? As Eljo says, there does need to be a clear demand, because I would be willing to drive around your encampment. I'm not a little baby. Madison's not that big of a town. But there has to be some kind of agenda. And if there isn't an agenda, I feel like we're spinning our wheels a bit here. And the people who, let's be real, are probably not inclined to agree with you anyway. So I'm not going to sit here and naively say, If you want them to join you, you got to find a better way to do it. Like, no, I'm not foolish enough to buy into that. But the scenes, if you haven't seen them, and shout out to TJ for sending me the pictures and videos that you have. It's not a good look. It's not a good look for the MPD, the Madison PD. It definitely sucks. I believe that accountability for the officer is the main demand. Obviously, that's not the end of what needs to change, but I think they're calling for his arrest. And you know, Eljo, you're exactly right. And I said this in the aftermath of what happened. And I'm going to say it again. I'm not even saying I would have to know the laws in Wisconsin. I know if we were in Texas and a homeless man stabbed a police officer and then that police officer shot the homeless man, the police officer would not be tried for anything because the stand your ground rules are so over the top in Texas. I do not know what the actual laws are here in terms of a murder prosecution. But what I do know, all right, timeout. Seems like we have one more dickhead in here. Let me just handle this really quick. I do know that at the very least, what can happen is this person should no longer have a job. This person should not be working as a police officer anymore. And I don't think that goes far enough. All right? Don't bang the messenger. I don't think that goes nearly far enough. I see you, Grace. Give me some time here. I don't think that goes nearly far enough, but I think that at the very least will do enough to placate people as to letting them know that they are taking this seriously. To be frank, I'm playing with fire this show, huh? I'm going to take it there. During the Me Too movement, I found it very ironic that so many of these stories were coming out about some of the worst things that men could possibly do to women. And by and large, outside of Harvey Weinstein, the only punishment that happened to anybody is that they were fired. And I was like, oh, so you can be accused a half a dozen times over of serious sexual related crimes. And as long as you're famous enough, then the punishment is then you just get fired. You know, I was fired for nothing. Like, firing is not a commensurate punishment for the kind of things that we're talking about here. It's not true in Madison, and it's not true during the Me Too movement. But I think it would at least show people that you're taking things seriously. Again, needs to be a trial, needs to be an assessment of the facts. Totally. I am here. If you were mad about what ICE was doing in terms of circumventing due process, then you have to kind of exercise the same attitudes here, even though you know a bunch of the MAGA morons would absolutely not exercise that kind of restraint. That's the way that I operate. And I do believe in due process, and I do believe in finding it out. I also believe that 3 shots at point blank range while you're laying on your back would probably not constitute normal police procedure. I've never been a police officer. I can't guarantee that, but I can say with relative certainty, I think I know I'm right. You're saying George Zimmerman might be homeless in LA? I hadn't heard that. Okay. Eljo, shoot it to me. Are you on Facebook or TikTok or anything? Or my work email is just my name, bencominos@gmail.com. So go ahead. I can't check my emails very much. There's a chance that I won't see it. Spectrum just notified me that the soonest I'm getting my internet back now is effing the 7th. So there's a chance it might be a while before any of that happens, but send me that infographic and we'll make it work. Yeah, go ahead and send it to me through Facebook Messenger and I'll try and find it. Just search my name right on. Okay, I'll tell you what, I have some other things that I want to jump into, but we have a guest waiting, so we'll do the guest now, and then we'll just kind of rearrange things because that's the beauty of not having out times right now until we have our advertisers up and running next month, is I can kind of just do whatever the hell I want. So we're going to bring Grace Abbott's up. We were scheduled to do this a week ago, and obviously, given the technical difficulties, we couldn't make that happen. But I was able to reach out. We actually ran into one another at the 8th Congressional District debate on Sunday and had a little bit of a discussion while the debate was going on. And it was a very good one. And we were able to set this up here. So when I see you guys talking about Maxima, we'll get to that, I promise you. But let's bring this conversation up now. Grace Abbott's running for state assembly in the 56th district. How are you today, Grace?
Hi, Ben. I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, of
and
course.
hello, everybody who's watching Ben's show and listening in on this conversation.
Yeah, quite a few people and a lot of people interested in what your agenda here is. A lot of people excited about the potential for a lot of blue Democrat-leaning individuals to be able to kind of come away with some victories here. We're just trying to learn the difference between you and your challenger here in the primary. So let's jump right into it right now. You're a Wisconsinite born and raised. Have you always been in the region you're running in, or what's the situation there?
Yeah, I grew up in Grand Chute over by Fox Valley Tech. And then I went to Fox Valley Lutheran, graduated in 2010. I played golf there, and in college, I went to UW Green Bay, where I also got to play golf. And I was living in Green Bay with my partner at the time. I worked at the brewery, Titletown Brewery, was learning about hospitality a lot. And then this opportunity in Hortonville, where I live now, this opportunity presented itself to buy an old bank building that needed a ton of TLC. And so my partner and I at the time, we moved down here, renovated a building for a year. And now 10 years later, I've had Alley Cat Coffee House running for 9 years, and ran for village board in Hortonville during that time. And now I'm on the campaign trail for State Assembly District 56.
Now, it's interesting. We actually already received a comment. Democrats will never win in the 56th district. So I want to talk a little bit about why that might be different this time. One of your main linchpins of your campaign here is surrounding data centers, something that seems to bridge that divide quite a bit, specifically the fact that you are not interested in having them. Where does that belief come from, and why do you view them? Is this a year-long moratorium? Is this it'll never happen? How do you view data centers as a campaign issue, and were you to win?
Sure. I mean, until they were proven to be economical for everybody and like environmentally friendly, that would need to be proven first. I mean, they're going up willy-nilly all over the place, and I sense, and a lot of us sense, how detrimental they are to our resources, and we need to be taking care of ourselves first. I know that water, for example, in Hortonville, everyone's water bills just increased by 40%, and that's not even data center related. But I know that there's other municipalities also facing their water infrastructure. Their water infrastructure is facing continual updates, and they can barely keep up with that. So then, insert a data center into one of our nice rural neighborhoods. What does that cost look like? So until I don't want to see them at all. Like I said, they have to be completely economical and not hurting anybody.
Sure. Yeah, it's one of those salient issues. It kind of feels like it came out of nowhere, and it's on everybody's mind here as we get closer to next Tuesday. You have some interesting attitudes here surrounding healthcare. Normally, in a normal election year, that's my main go-to issue. Is I don't believe either side of the aisle has been addressing this in any kind of meaningful way. You have an interesting input here surrounding dental insurance, which I think a lot of people listening might be able to relate to, that it really doesn't go that far on anything outside of the bare necessities. How do you envision that working, and how would you get it to work that way?
Yeah, that I'm very curious about that. Having a root canal or getting a bite guard, any procedure, it literally costs thousands of dollars out of pocket. And it's like, okay, I'm lucky I've saved that up. I can pay my dentist. And like, I love my dental office here in Hortonville. It's called Smiles by Design. We have another amazing dental office in Hortonville. It's called Otter Creek Dental, and they're amazing people. And I would have to kind of get their ear on the situation to see, like, better understand how their costs, what it costs to run those spaces. And I think, health insurance, your dental health is like an indicator of overall health. So can that just be included in health insurance, not a separate category? And what does that look like when health insurance just covers these super essential procedures? You know what? I got a bite guard for not grinding my teeth at night. That was a $700 process.
Oh, you're talking to a guy who got implants 3 weeks before he got fired. So I can tell you a thing or two about astronomical costs for dental procedures coming out of nowhere. So it definitely caught my eye there. So definitely a little bit of a different approach to things that you don't hear in a lot of campaigns. Now let's go to some of the things that tend to pop up oftentimes in Democratic campaigns: universal child care, public school funding, special ed reimbursement. Talking to the right kind of guy about those things, but you don't need to convince me. How do you put this message in a way that clearly Democrats in Wisconsin have been talking about for a while, but can't seem to break through in certain demographics of the voting bloc here? How are you presenting that to people?
Sure. Well, for example, I can say that in 2017, there was a Republican-led effort. It was called the Blue Ribbon Commission on School Funding. So that was done in 2017. They collected data with a bipartisan committee. They collected data for close to 2 years, and this group came up with like about 15 recommendations for the state of Wisconsin. And I guess some of the best ones being is they recommended that special ed be reimbursed at 65%, which right now we're barely at 40%. I've talked to Todd Tim at the Hortonville Area School District, and he said that they're losing about like $2.5 million. That's just not being reimbursed back to them. Like $2.5 million in a school district. And the other recommendation in this Blue Ribbon Commission was to have, there was a recommendation on inflation. So when inflation is going up 2% every year, school funding would also be boosted up 2% every year. And this was established in 2017. So like now it's almost 10 years later, and they spent money. They held 10 commission hearings in 2017 through the end of 2018, 10 commission hearings with superintendents, education professionals. The committee had Republicans, Democrats on it, and they collectively came up with these recommendations. And then they didn't do anything with them. What if they would have done something with them in 2017?
Yeah.
It was a collective effort. So when I'm elected, it'll be early 2027. I guess the conversation could start, well, we looked at this about 10 years ago. But unfortunately, a lot has probably changed since then too. Inflation and cost of living in 2026 does not look like it looked in 2017.
Sure.
But it's a starting point. Like, hey, you guys examined this about a decade ago. You knew it was an issue, and recommendations were made, and then we didn't do anything with it.
Sure thing. We're speaking with Grace Abbott's running in the 56th Assembly District here in the state of Wisconsin. Affordable housing. When I first moved out here, I felt like I was covering the story of the Shattuck Middle School development every freaking week. An opportunity for 150 new apartments to be built, and running into the NIMBYism, not in my backyard. For those of you listening that might not be familiar with that kind of line there, affordable housing is one of your main focal points here, also surrounding energy bills as well. What, in your mind, is the best approach to placate NIMBYism, if you're interested in placating them at all, but also allowing these units to go up? Or is there a way to bring prices down without more units? I don't want to put words in your mouth. So what do you think is the best route to take here?
Sure. So I definitely have, like, Madison has some successful co-op housing established. I like the idea. I'm not by any means advocating for that, but it's an interesting concept. And I think when you can have conversations about things that are working, then maybe you can duplicate them elsewhere. But if it's a NIMBY topic in this area, then I would not push it. You have to have enough people kind of wanting and organizing for something in order to see it happen. But I know the average homeowner age right now is about 40 years old, and I'm 34. And I do not own a home. I've lived above my coffee shop for 10 years, and I like it that way. But, you know, like new home builds they're advertising like, oh, they're in the 300,000s. And for middle and lower class people, that's signing up for, that's a huge financial risk for a lot of people to take. And some people are taking that risk, but that's nothing like what my parents or our grandparents faced at all.
Sure. Even I'm a couple years older than you are, and I bought in 2016, and it feels like I bought in a different lifetime. I almost feel like I talk like a boomer when I talk about what I had available to me in 2016 relative to 2026, which is absolutely difficult to ignore here on these matters. So definitely,
I feel the same way. That I'm lucky that I got to have what was available to me in 2016.
Yeah.
Like, I remember at that time there were homes in New London for sale for like 25 grand.
Right. No, exactly. Yeah, you're going to send me down a whole rabbit hole there, but yes, you're exactly right in how much it's jumped up in a very quick period of time here.
Yeah.
Obviously, I feel like in Wisconsin, the conservative side of the aisle does care a bit more about environmental issues than maybe more on the national scene there. One of your focal points, it deals with protecting natural resources. Obviously, the data center conversation that we just had a moment ago ties into that. How else do you perceive that protection of the natural resources in northern Wisconsin?
Sure. I mean, when I was growing up, I was an avid deer hunter. I remember being like 8 years old, and my brother was going up north with my dad and my cousins and my grandpa, and I wanted to be at deer camp, and I had to wait, 3 more years to be able to go up there. And so I got to go deer hunting with my family when I turned 11, and my dad taught me about like searching out good deer trails and looking for sign and stuff like that. And along with that, I went dirt biking all the time when I was a teenager on the Wabeno, Wisconsin has like a multi-100-mile long trail system up there, and communities take care of those trails, and that drives tourism to up north Wisconsin to patronize those little like bars and little lodges and stuff. So like the North Woods is a huge asset to our state, and like locally speaking, like here in Hortonville we have Black Otter Lake. It's the only lake in Outagamie County. We need to take care of that. I know over the years they've had consistent issues with being able to like manage the weeds in that lake. So like it's interesting that you couldn't just kind of get the funds to these communities to just take care of their resources. Like Why are they having a hard time getting the weeds taken care of at Little Black Otter Lake? Like, not everything has to be a huge problem. Just kind of get it done, and then like watch more people go to the lake because it's being taken care of. More people are coming to Hortonville because the lake is so nice, and this and that. Yeah. Does that kind of answer your question? Sure. As far as protecting resources? I go to Mosquito Hill super often. I mean, that's a breath of fresh air out there. I think we all need to be visiting our local parks. I went to Gordon Bubolt's the other day with my friend. We went for a walk. I mean, it's like a beautiful campus out there. And yeah, everyone go outside more if you're willing to.
Yeah. I've been outside more than I've been in a long time. It's funny what not having access to anything electronic does to you when you realize and I'm sure as soon as it comes back, I will revert back to my sedentary lifestyle. But it's been kind of nice in the time that I can.
Yes.
So we're just about out of time here, and I like wrapping these conversations up the same way with everybody because obviously we just addressed more than a half a dozen different issues that you've been campaigning on and hoping to affect change were you to come away with a victory here. Impossible for me to cover everything that represents you and what represents your campaign. So I like to give the final question as just like an open floor moment. What's something you wish that I had asked you about that you want the listeners of this program to be aware of that we didn't have time to get here today that you think best exemplifies your campaign, you, or whatever the situation may be? The floor is yours.
Sure. I would want you to ask me about municipal funding.
Okay. Tell me about municipal funding.
Sure. So earlier this year, I was learning that I was learning from Tom Hartfell. He was on the school board in New London. He's a super knowledgeable man. He's super involved in local elections. But he was sharing with me that in 2003, Wisconsin's shared revenue was frozen. And that was done under a Republican legislature. Jim Doyle was the governor. He made a couple vetoes to what they presented. There were some reservations. So they decided to freeze our revenue sharing at $900 million. And that remained frozen until 2023. And by 2023, all of us in the state were actually sharing about $750 million. So if you want to wonder why each municipality is having a hard time funding roads and keeping up with EMS services, and school districts are going to referendum, like here in Hortonville, it's because the funding was frozen for 20 years. And there was a legislature in place for that long that was just ignoring and delaying funding for essential services and just a growing population.
Speaking with Grace Abbott's here. She will be on the ballot next Tuesday in the 56th District of Wisconsin. Thank you very much for taking some time to chat with us today. It's very interesting to hear the different approaches. Even though everybody's labeled as a Democrat or on the left, obviously we all have different ideas here. So thank you very much for presenting yours, and good luck next week.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good one.
Yep, you too. Thank you.
So that is that. We have gotten the entire 56th district done here. Who was in charge the last 20 years, though? Republicans. Thank you for asking, Dave. I find her to be a very interesting woman with some interesting takes, obviously running on an area that is deep, deep red. But there's just a little bit of that hope and momentum in the air these days that other people tend to struggle with. So that's interesting very much. So Dave, you just, and like, I realize TikTok people, you're like, Ben, just ignore the morons in the chat. But sometimes stupidity just has to be flattened. And I'll tell you what, Dave, this is the last comment I'm going to read. I'm going to give you a chance to put your big boy pants on here. Step in the arena. Let's see what you got. Take me on, prove your point, see if you can actually make a coherent thought against somebody that does this professionally. Let's see how well that goes for you. Unfortunately, I have a basic capacity for deductive reasoning, you fucking moron. Tony Evers has been the governor for the last 8 years. Prior to that, there was a Republican for the last 8 years, and Republicans have controlled the Assembly and the Senate for the last 16 years. Waka waka, MAGA. You might be a fucking moron. Thanks for joining the program today. Enter the link or shut the fuck up. I'll let you pick one of those two, whichever ones you want to do, but those are your two options. Take me on. Let's see what happens. No, they don't come out from behind the keyboard because you guys have seen what happens when some of them actually do try and jump out from behind the keyboard. They all look like morons. They can't articulate 3 sentences in a row that actually make sense. All right, you had your chance, bud. Now you're going in timeout. Have fun sitting in the corner, little guy. You don't understand that you don't have a basic capacity. Your entire foundational understanding of politics is based in racism and hatred towards an LGBTQ community that you can't possibly understand. You probably can't even spell it. So, good luck in life. I hope you come back. Don't worry, timeouts are only 24 hours long. You can drive my engagement tomorrow as well. But for the rest of us here that aren't illiterate morons, maybe consider clicking that subscribe button. Actually, if you don't click the subscribe button, you're an illiterate moron. So hopefully you hop on there. Hate is their platform. With these type of people, yes, I still will maintain that there were elements of MAGA that actually had an issue with the economy that was founded in reality. It's just that jackasses like this guy don't have the ability to articulate those frustration. And it seems as though, because Trump has failed, right? Trump has failed by every conceivable metric, economically, housing prices, corporate greed, drill, baby, drill. He has failed by every conceivable metric. And these guys can't defend it. And then when people like me who show up, you can't paint me as a liberal. I realize a bunch of you guys did not know about my show when Joe Biden was in office. You can't paint me as a liberal. I have countless hours of content to the contrary of that. And so when I am saying Donald Trump is an abject failure by every sense of the word, it is not in a liberal mindset. I am not talking about, not to undermine it, but I'm not talking about identity politics. I'm not talking about the fact that transgender athletes has entered the WNBA discourse now because a bunch of basement-dwelling virgins struggle to ask sports-related questions. So they're trying to create headlines because Republicans are about to get their asses whooped in November. It's a flailing of people that had valid gripes. Their dad president failed them, and they can't process that failure. And so they attack the people that are making sense. And yeah, I'll let them have it. I'm Greek, I'm Mediterranean. I don't tolerate ignorance particularly well. Never did. Todd Pingel, Pingel, Todd Earl Pingel, is actually in my emails right now, texting me as we speak, or emailing me as we speak, because he blocked me on Facebook because he was so scared of all you guys. If anybody wants to send him an email, it's 3wdloft@gmail.com. 3wdloft@gmail.com. For anybody who wants to say something, just in case you guys might not have the memory to do it later. 3wd, yeah, loft@gmail.com. Anybody who wants to let them know how they feel about that, there's his email right there for anybody that would like to reach out to him. But he had to block me on Facebook because all of you guys scared him so badly. So now he's over here. Man. You know what? The fact that the trolls are coming out and coming against this show, it makes me think they're scared about next week, and they're scared about November. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment, and I think that's how it's going to ultimately end up playing out here. But so in any event, I apologize for doing Grace a disservice there, but I just had enough of it. Very interesting woman, again, in the 56th district, running against Shauna Riley, who was on the program a couple of weeks ago. I always do the search engine optimization on the show. So if you type her name in and then outside the box or Ben Cominos or something, I'm sure it'll pop up if you didn't get a chance to see it. It's the entire episode. It hasn't been edited in any way. Thanks for emailing them, guys. CKK says, I actually down the street from the Bolt Company today. Perhaps Todd Pingle would like to buy me lunch and tell me why he hates Ben so much. Well, I have an idea. Isn't it funny? Dave Lee has like 40 different accounts because I keep blocking him and then he keeps coming back with a new account. As long as you're clicking that subscribe button, Cheech, you can do whatever you like here. But yeah, let them know what it is. What's your honest question, Dave? You know what? I told you you're not. I'll give you one more chance here. Come on this show, ask your honest question, and then get verbally pantsed. There you go. Click the link. Looking forward to seeing you, bud. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. Brian says, seriously, Ben, leave the petty bullshit to the vicious trolls. You and your audience are way above piss posting. I feel that, Brian, but like, I said this before I was fired. Being a public figure has been an eye-opening experience for me, because I used to always call for like coaches to be fired or whatever. And then it hit me like these people are regular people as well. And I kind of stopped being that person. And these are the people that were too big of pansies to take me on the radio. And so they're doing this now because they know I was smarter than them when I was 8. So they try and run these circles around. So I feel you, and I'm working on it. And I already promised the audience that yesterday was my last day mocking that little radio station. And you were one of the people who talked me out of it. You were like, you're better than that. But always remember, I am a first-generation online gamer. What little guys like Dave here think is trolling, we invented back in the early 2000s, and what we were doing in the early 2000s would be war crimes by 2026 standards. So, like, these guys can do this, but I'm warning you. Looks like he was just signed up for the DSA newsletter. That's too bad. Why am I grounded? Why did I get grounded, Violet? Yeah, early 2000s Halo, exactly. Old Joe saying I'm petty as fuck. Yeah, I'm not the bigger person, I promise. Me neither. That's the problem. That's the problem. I'm absolutely not going to, because again, if they could defend their talking points, that would be one thing. But the reason they're lashing out is because they know they can't. But I see Just a Wisco Girl advocating for it. I value her opinion quite a bit as well. So I'm going to work on it. Thank you for the follow, Brob. See, meanwhile, I got other people on Twitter following me because they like that I'm pantsing these little guys. But in any event, that's my thoughts on the matter there. We only have a little bit of time left in the program today. Hey, Ben, just checking. Have you tracked the NDAA progress as of late? I haven't been able to track much of anything, Moondog, because of the lack of internet that I may have mentioned once or twice on this show. It's the new Ben is shadow banned. I became unshadow banned on TikTok, and then like I had reach, and now I can't post on TikTok throughout the day because I don't have internet anymore, which is just the bee's knees when you're trying to get an online program off the ground. But you know. We'll see. Really quickly though, before we move on, bad cell service. It's I don't know why, but I cannot. What I've done is I have turned my cell phone into a personal hotspot. Um and I use that to kind of search things. Yeah, my videos are popping up now, Robin, for sure. I just can't post any right now. But I don't know if it's because the cell tower is that badly damaged or what. But like even text messages, people will text me videos or pictures or links, and I can't see them until I leave my apartment. And I don't even have to go that far away from my apartment. It's like literally just where I'm at. It's incredibly frustrating. I appreciate that, TR. I've got a handful of people that have offered me assistance on the matter, which most certainly makes me feel welcomed. I appreciate that very much. Violet's having a hard time with cell service, and that's in Georgia, but I believe it. Are you also Verizon? Those bastards. Your show leads by information, not retribution. It's like when Trump and his administration is ousted, let them crawl back under their rocks. Forward. You're right. You guys are right. Yeah, Eljo, you should join the Discord as well. Late 90s, early 2K World of Warcraft Troll World. I believe that. Ironically enough, I didn't get into World of Warcraft. Given my gamer status, but I'll believe it. Yeah, there's a Discord. I'm not 100% sure how to offer it up, but I mean, as long as you're not, you guys have seemed all right to me. I'll let Allie handle that. Do your witchcraft here. Staying out a while was a wise choice. I felt like it would be. Looks like Todd got signed up for Planned Parenthood. Just a Wisco girl says, Ben, have you considered using the Menasha or Appleton public libraries? They have office spaces you can use by signing up for them. Menasha also has a radio booth. Oh, good to know. So I went and spoke with my mystery advertiser who we were talking. We're going to kick off the endorsement this month, but I want to kind of tease the announcement a little bit as to who it's going to be. I went and checked the empty space yesterday that's going to be available for me to work in. And realistically, if I can move quick enough by Monday, I might be set up in that building. I'm going to check it out. Like that might be a bit of a stretch. Might have to wait 2 weeks, but if somebody is able to assist me with that, we'll be talking about. We'll be addressing that in the near future. Brian, like we're doing really well with one another here, and like you're saying that boomers have knowledge and skills, and like all of the meanest things flowed to my head, but because I'm turning over a new leaf and I'm not trolling people anymore, I'm just I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to say anything, and I hope that Todd enjoys his Planned Parenthood and DSA subscriptions, and we'll see what happens. Look, I don't want to shortchange the Max Miller thing and talk about that in relation to Graham Plattner, so we're going to save that conversation for tomorrow. But I do want to double back on a throwaway comment that I made surrounding the WNBA. If you guys haven't seen it, Sophie Cunningham, who is currently embroiled in her 15 minutes of fame right now, teammate of Caitlin Clark, also an attractive white girl. And you're like, but Ben, why even bother saying that? Allow me to emphasize this right now. The reason why Caitlin Clark is getting so much attention is because specifically right-wingers are completely supporting her career because they love that a white person is excelling in a traditionally black field. They love that it drives black people nuts, that when it was a black face at the top of the league, nobody gave a shit, but then a white person shows up and then white people start caring. And this is how MAGA operates. It's like the Odyssey all over again. Allow me to say this before I go any further. I basically, since the womb, have been into rap music. I enjoyed some rap, then Eminem came out, then I fell in love with rap, and then I doubled back and I found a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have necessarily listened to had I not jumped on the Eminem bandwagon back in the late 90s. I can understand why there would probably be some people in the black community that were frustrated by the fact that their music style had been ignored by white society for decades, only for people to take interest in it once a white guy not only started doing it, but was exceptional at it. But it also made lifelong fans of dozens of black artists that otherwise would not have gotten as much attention. And that probably isn't going to be viewed as an acceptable answer to a lot of people in those communities. But I do think there is a net positive to that. And similarly, Caitlin Clark is making fans of the WNBA that are going to exist long after she's gone, hopefully. No, Allie, can you hop on YouTube, please, if you can hear the sound of my voice? There's a couple people looking for you on YouTube. And a similar thing can happen with Caitlin Clark. But here's the thing. Much like the Sydney Sweeney scandals, the American right has such a disgusting social platform that they try and co-opt celebrities into it. It's like how Morgan Wallen is one of the biggest country singers in America, essentially because he said the N-word on film one time, and then everybody tried to cancel him, and MAGA dug in, and they said, we can put him on the top of the billboards. And then you see little microcosms of that. Riley Gaines comes in 5th, was going to go and be a dentist, completely admirable line of work, and she was like, wait, I could make a shit ton of money just crapping on trans people for the rest of my life because I'm attractive to like a very, very small and weird subsect of American society. And they want to hear attractive blonde women say things about the population groups that they hate. I can monetize that. Sophie Cunningham is objectively significantly more attractive than Riley Gaines. She sees an opportunity to slide into a lane and probably be even more successful than Riley Gaines could ever hope to be. If you haven't seen how much money WNBA players make, it's not very much. So, all right, Allie, I feel you. Everybody who's asking to join the Discord, if you can send me a message on Facebook or email or whatever, and I will help you guys out, but it's not going to be during the show today. But just message me personally and I will figure it out. But so Sophie gets asked a question by a journalist, and whether or not that journalist was a plant and Sophie wanted to take advantage of that, whether or not this was just sprung on her and she answered it in a way that placates a lot of MAGA morons, whatever the situation may be, that'll be fine. So then, once getting the keep trans women out of my sports conversation, they wanted Caitlin Clark to say the same thing. And Caitlin did this stupid thing where she said, I don't have nearly enough information to actually talk about this. So rather than talk out of my ass, I'm just going to abstain from giving you an answer entirely, because why would I talk about something that I don't thoroughly understand? Piece of shit person, if you think about it. I'm joking, of course. And she has been inundated with right-wing podcasters, all of the likely suspects, including Laura Ingraham of Fox News, who literally wrote the goddamn book, Shut Up and Dribble. pissed off that Caitlin Clark was not willing to say what she wanted to hear surrounded those transes, the 9 transes, that seem to have all Republicans running scared all the time. And if you think I'm blowing that out of proportion,
and somehow walked away. Cunningham took an elbow to the face, watched the officials review the replay, and somehow walked away with a foul called against her. That's the latest bizarre moment involving one of the WNBA's most outspoken players, and it comes just days after Cunningham dared to say biological men don't belong in women's sports. Cunningham took an elbow to the face, watched the officials review the replay, and somehow...
So apparently shut up and dribble only applies to black people standing up for black rights. But if you're a white person who's willing to condemn trans people for existing, well, that's another story entirely. Apparently she only scored 3 points that game. Again, she's not good. She's got her 15 minutes of fame and she's trying to make it 30 minutes of fame. Yeah, Jay, shut up and dribble. I actually have episodes of my show called Shut Up and Dribble because it's about right-wing athletes standing up and speaking about right-wing interests, because apparently kneeling during America's special song is enough to be banned from a league for your rest of your career. But if you're going to go and stand on a platform with Donald Trump, well, that's a completely acceptable use of your time, and that's why we should be excited. Save women's sports, stated by people who don't watch women's sports. Exactly. It's just such a lack of consistency. And when you highlight the lack of consistency, they attack you with ad hominem attacks until you ground everybody, as Violet mocked me for doing. But I had to send everybody to timeout because they were being a little group of pansies. So I had to handle it on my own. So you see Laura Ingraham willing to ignore the shut up and dribble mantra that she created, all in the name of ostracizing trans people, which I cannot stress enough, have not expressed any interest in joining the WNBA. There has not even been a single move that has happened here. They are creating a story out of nothing. And why? Waka waka MAGA. It's because Donald Trump is failing by every conceivable metric. It's why they are attacking Francesca Hong about Christmas and Valentine's Day and Thanksgiving. And they're attacking the WNBA. They're attacking the vote election security. They're attacking anything because they do not have a capacity to run on anything that they have fixed or even fucking accomplished. And so that is why you're seeing this story. And I regret even giving it 10 minutes of airtime on this show. But WNBA is on a lot of down ballots. Exactly. But what happens, Jim, is then Laura Ingraham runs a story about it. Then all of our grandparents start to hear about it and they get mad about the transes. And like, one of the best things I can say to people, because there are right wingers in my life, they're like, look, I don't hate the trans community. I just wish I didn't have to hear about them all the time. Well, that's great. I have a solution for you. All you have to do is stop listening to right-wing media, and 95% of your trans content is going to go away. Because I hate to break it to you, but liberals and leftists are not running around perpetually bitching about 0.8% of the population. That's a you guys thing. So if you stop listening to your people, it won't be in your feeds anymore. And you can just shut the fuck up about it. We can go back to talking about issues that matter in society. But something tells me you don't want to do that because MAGA has no interest in addressing the issues that are facing society. Sophie Cunningham is a goon to protect Caitlin Clark the same way Marty McSorley protected Wayne Gretzky. I never knew how tough the WNBA was until a few months ago watching clips. No, I've seen that. And again, as a feminist, I'm here for it. I think more sports should be handled that way. I do not ascribe to the treat Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Even Sid Crosby got the treatment. I wasn't thrilled with it. I'm not an advocate for the you got to leave the stars of the league alone. I like the 90s style, like, you're going to come in the paint. You're getting fucked up when you come in the paint. I wouldn't suggest it. Like, I kind of like that. I'm here for that. So, Caitlin Clark, everybody's acting like, how can this be a thing? And those exact same people, when they're in their living room, are talking about how they're mad that you can't do helmet-to-helmet shots in football anymore. I'm not advocating for that, by the way. I can't handle watching that stuff anymore because it hurts my soul to see like those kind of hits happen. But I'm saying. Wave 1 says trans issues have been red herring following the shiny bouncing ball laser cat toy fodder for the right. Exactly. And I don't believe it's going to work when they have power. When Democrats beat their asses in November and in all likelihood beat their asses again in 2028, the trans issues will work again as a cudgel to get people to show up because fucking goldfish memories, the lot of them on the right. But I don't think it's going to be enough to win a lot of elections. I've already seen Tiny Tom Tiffany trying to run on, did you know Francesca Hong is for boys and women's sports? Like, if that wins again, then rural America deserves exactly what they're going to get with a Republican leadership, you know? Like, there comes a time when you're like, you know what? I don't even feel bad about this. Enjoy what you voted for. But I don't think it's going to work this time around. Maybe I am just being optimistic here. But so, all right. I think that's enough for one day. Subscribe to the channel. How many are we at? Did we get to 700? If we didn't get to 700, you're all fired. 793. Still need 7 more. It's going to be on all of you guys then. You're all going to have to share this show with 3 friends and tell them to click the subscribe button. Tell them you know the guy and you appreciate it. I'm telling you, yeah, Aaron, you should subscribe to Ben. I feel like you already have, so you're off the hook. For the rest of you, though, I'm going to need you all to tell 3 friends this show is still happening. The number of people that are still coming up to me to say that they miss me on the radio, and I say, well, I have a YouTube channel, and they're like, oh, really? And then they tag along for it, and they're back on board. That means plenty of people out there don't know that this is still happening, so we got to make sure that they do know. And I need all of your help for doing that as we try and make this independent media, as I'm trying to get to the point where I can operate. Ooh, 794. Hell yeah. Thank you. 10-second Tom Tiffany. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, trolls don't have 3 friends. Absolutely not. I have a feeling once I muted them, they probably aren't listening anymore because they just came here to try and throw the flow off of the show. But unfortunately for them, I can shit talk their 5'6" asses. No offense to any men out there that are 5'6", and then I can immediately get back into whatever I was talking about. We are having Mark Scheffler on the show tomorrow. He is running for the congressional seat in the 8th district against Rick Crossan and Katrina DeVille, who will also both be on this show. Still going to hammer out the schedule for them there. Hook Dale up with a YouTube account. Yeah, maybe. I do miss that guy. He had a lot of good insight, a lot of success stories there. All right, good stuff, Mikey. I feel like you stay on your tiptoes to hit that 5'7". Joking. Yeah. So in any event, Mark Scheffler on the show tomorrow. We're going to get the other 2 candidates on before Tuesday, and we're going to be breaking down the Michigan primary. I am optimistic good things are going to happen in Michigan, and that is a sign for good things happening here in Wisconsin. We will jump into that at a future date, though. I am going to call it a morning as I technically have things to do. So I will talk to everybody else tomorrow. Have a good one.